Aaron McConnell made an immediate impact to the Pittsburg State University football program the moment he stepped onto the campus as a freshman in 2000. By the end of his senior season, he staked his claim as perhaps the greatest defensive lineman in school history. Pitt State coaches saw the Midwest City, Oklahoma native dominate the prep scene in high school and knew they wanted McConnell in a Gorilla uniform. Pitt State head coach Tim Beck, then the Gorillas' offensive coordinator, remembers seeing McConnell play firsthand as a high school senior.
There was a series that really stood out in my mind, and it kind of went like this. This might not be exactly, but it kind of went like this in the fact that first down, he has a tackle for a loss. Second down, he has another tackle for a loss. Third down, they try to throw it, he gets a sack. Fourth down, they line up and kick a field goal, and he blocks it. So he was an absolute dominant player in high school.
McConnell signed with Oklahoma State out of high school, but did not play for the Cowboys. Persistence paid off for the Gorillas, and McConnell ultimately transferred to Pitt State. Right away, then head coach Chuck Broyles knew they landed a talented prospect.
Well, Aaron, as a freshman, was very physically mature. He wasn't your typical freshman. He was physically ready to play.
And play he did. McConnell started 8 games as a freshman in 2000. He recorded 63 tackles on the year, including 11 tackles for loss and 4 quarterback sacks. In his second collegiate game, he posted 3 sacks and a fumble recovery. Conference coaches voted him to the first-team All-MIAA squad, and he received honorable mention All-America honors from Don Hanson's Football Gazette. The accolades continued throughout his career. McConnell earned first-team All-America honors from the American Football Coaches Association as a sophomore in 2001 and from the Associated Press as a junior in 2002. His senior season, McConnell was a consensus first-team All-America as well as the MIAA Defensive Player of the Year.
When you earn American Football Coaches All-American honors, Associated Press All-American honors, and some of the honors that he won, then to be the most valuable player in the league as a defensive player, that speaks volumes.
McConnell would finish his stellar career as the first position player in school history to earn All-America honors on 4 occasions. To date, he and legendary Pitt State player John Peterson remain the only 2 defensive linemen in school history to earn All-America honors in at least 3 seasons. McConnell totaled 232 career tackles with 75 tackles for loss and 21 quarterback sacks in 48 games.
Just a dominant player. He absolutely could not be blocked one-on-one. That was something that they just could not do. And he's probably drawn more double teams than any defensive lineman in the history of Pittsburg State.
During his time in uniform for the Gorillas, McConnell drew many comparisons to past great Pitt State players. As the years move forward, up-and-coming Gorilla players will be judged against the likes of Aaron McConnell. Today, we recognize Aaron Richard McConnell's place among the all-time great players in Pittsburg State University history.
Man, what a great player, what a great person. Aaron, congratulations, and going into the 2013 Pittsburg State University Hall of Fame, very well deserved.
Aaron, as a coach and friend, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Pittsburg State University Athletic Hall of Fame.
Man, I'm just glad today's finally here. It's been ever since Dan Wilson, Coach Beck, actually Coach Beck called. It's been long, just kind of figuring out what to do. And I have to thank the committee, the Hall of Fame committee, for voting me in and putting me in, in such a special group. I mean, all these guys sitting in the crowd were always just pictures on the wall when we were standing in the week getting ready to walk out. Man, we've read so many stories just standing there in that line. So to be up there with those guys it's just awesome. Everybody's asked us this, going into this, is if you wrote your speech, you have bullet points, or you write your 5 guys, you're gonna 5 things you're gonna think, and everybody's been asking that. And I got to tell you, the one person that gave me the best advice of anybody was somebody that I'm telling you 10 years ago. man, he was just a crazy guy in shorts with a baby strapped to his chest and a microphone in his hand on the sideline. Eddie, I spent the last 4 years with Eddie doing the radio, and that man is full of so much knowledge, useless knowledge, that I would never remember. But the one thing that Eddie has said, he told me, he said, I'll tell you what, all your years and all your career in the newspaper and the media, you've always talked about your teammates, and you've always talked about everybody else. He said, this one day is yours, so talk about what you want to talk about. And that's the greatest thing anybody says. So, for everybody for everybody that's kind of come before you and been up here and talked and done the things, it's just amazing to stand up here and finally, kind of tell my story. I'll never forget the first time I met Coach Beck. He was always the coolest coach that came and visited me on a recruiting trip, because he was the only coach that got me out of class to come talk to me. Everybody else always came during practice or after practice, and him and Coach Broyles were the only two. They were the only ones that came during class, so I got about an hour and a half out of class, which, as an athlete in high school, that was cool. When I first came to Pitt State, Coach Beck met me at the apartments, and he had his family with him, and we were unloading our U-Haul when Coach Beck pulled up, and it was definitely the first step in me knowing that I was more than just a number. I was going to be Aaron McConnell. They were excited. Coach Beck was excited for me to be here. Whenever I came on campus for the very first time, they were having a little football camp, and I went down, and I'll never forget Harlan Hess, and there was a group of guys down there just listening to those guys talk and tell me about Pittsburgh State, about being a gorilla and what this community was about. They sold me on it. I didn't even need to talk to any of the coaches. Some of the past players are the reason that I came here. The summer before camp started, the night before the very first day of camp, you never sleep. Some of you guys know before big games and before big events, you never sleep. And I remember I could not go to sleep that night. And I woke up to a banging on the door. Somebody banging on my window, banging on my door. And I went and answered the door, and it was Coach Beck. He said, "Hey, Matt, practice started at 6. At 6:30, you going to join us today?" That was how I started my Pitt State career. Coach Beck woke me up in my apartment 30 minutes late. So I can promise you, walking in the first day of practice and being that freshman that I wanted to play, and I think the coaches thought I was going to be able to play. And here I come walking in, what was about an hour late into practice. So you look at all those seniors' faces, and they're really not like you at that moment. So that was kind of how I started my career. I'm so glad my career ended a lot better than it started. Coach Broyles, I've got to say a little bit about Coach Broyles. I'm just going to say a few things. Coach was always a man of few words. Coach Broyles never wanted you to know that he liked you any better than anybody else. For the longest time, I can remember going to Coach Beck's office and telling him, "I don't think Coach Broyles likes me. He'll never talk to me. Coach Broyles loved me. Coach Broyles he never wanted you to think he loved you." And one time, Aaron Bell, and again, when Coach Broyles did speak, he always wanted to listen. One time, Aaron Bell catches a pass, and he throws his arms out like an airplane and goes running down the field. And Coach Broyles walks over and puts his arm around there and he said, "Aaron," he said, "if you think you're an airplane, you can crawl your butt to the top of those stands and jump off and see how far you go." So he always had cool things to say that were just always, it was always worth listening to when Coach Broyles talked. So I have to say thank you to Coach Broyles, because he was somebody that taught me that the friendships aren't always high fives and butt slaps. That you can still have very close friendships, and you don't always have to give them a high five. And he was a great coach. And somebody that still to this day I try to make my way through a crowd just so that I can say I said hi, Coach Broyles. Coach Broyles got to talk. Coach Tunn, I know he's not here. Coach Tunn was awesome. He was my defensive line coach, and to this day I know that Coach Tunn's probably been talked about up here before, but he was somebody that let me be me. From the very first day of the very first game I played in it was Northern Alabama. We went into overtime. And I'm just a freshman. I'm standing on one end of the field, and they're screaming and hollering my name. And I go in and play in overtime. And Coach Tunn always let me be me. He never tried to change who I was as a player. He never tried to make me what the system wanted me to be. He always let me go. Coach Tunn had two rules. After the first couple games on film, Coach Tunn turned around and he said, Mac, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, you freelance a lot. You don't do what we tell you. You don't do the play that's called you. You always seem to do your own thing. He said, I'm going to give you 2 rules if you're going to continue doing that, because I plan on you playing for the next 4 years. If you're going to continue to do that, I have 2 rules. Rule number 1 is you better make the play. If you're going to do your own thing, you better make the play. He said, rule number 2, you better be ready for an attitude when Coach Broyles comes, because if you do the wrong thing and you don't make the play, he's going to shoot you. And it always happened. If I didn't make the play and kind of did my own thing, we got in trouble, and you always had to smile and go on. Because Coach Tunny always let me be me. He never tried to change me. And I truly believe that the success I had as a gorilla and the success I had on past Pittsburgh State was definitely because of Coach Tunny. Because Coach Tunny never changed me. He let me play. And so for that, I definitely thank Coach Tunny. All my teammates that I've played with in the past, I don't miss playing a game of football. I don't miss having my head smashed in 40 car crashes a game. I don't miss that stuff. Hearing people flying after you hit them, it's fun. But I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I more miss the friendships. I miss the locker room. I miss the bus rides. I miss the plane flights. I miss playing cards the night before games in hotels. Those are the things I miss. So being able to stand up here and get this Hall of Fame honor, I don't look at it as being, a good football player. I look at it as I get to be in a group of guys that now I have something in common with them. Now I have something I can sit around and talk to those guys about. It's not about the game on the field. It's the fun we get to have off the field. And so, I miss my teammates. I miss those times getting to hang out and spending time with the guys. I have to thank my parents. Coach Lane Lord, basketball coach, gave me an over-under when I would start crying. And I told him I'm going to do really well until I thank my parents. They are, man, I'm going to do this. My mom and dad are 2 people, again, that let me be me. My dad always told me, as long as you're playing sports, I don't care what else you do. As long as you stay out of trouble and you're playing sports, that's job enough for me. I never had to have a job. We were fortunate enough that I didn't have to do that. And I think that is what made me work so hard as a player, is my dad worked his butt off. Owned his own company, I always went to work. If somebody didn't show up, and my dad just jumped in and did it. If somebody did something wrong, he just jumped in and fixed it. If somebody needed his help, he jumped in and helped them. It was never a question. And I tried my best to be that same type of person as a player, now as a father and as a husband. I try not to whine. I try not to ask questions. I try not to have somebody else do it. If something needs done, I just do it. And that's a trait my dad gave me that I don't know that I can ever repay him for that. Because that has made me by far who I am today. Is the sacrifices that my mom and dad made for me, for my brother and for myself, and now for my family, the things that they have done for us, it is unheard of. I can never thank you guys enough for what you've done. Mom and Dad, I love you guys. I wouldn't be standing up here today if you guys hadn't made the sacrifices y'all did. My wife, she is somebody I met in college. After my freshman year in March, I met my wife. Our paths crossed a lot, and she was always just a hot, curly-headed girl. I never really knew who she was, what her name was. We passed each other a lot at different places, games. When we finally met and started dating, and I did the normal meathead thing. I proposed on the football field after the football game, and she said yes. And I'll never forget, laying in bed that night, I told her, I said, now listen, you said yes to marry me. You've committed to a very rough life. You've committed to a life that's not going to be easy, because I'm going to try to play football for a living. That's what I'm going to try to do, and it's not going to be easy. And I'll never forget her telling me, I'm here, let's go. It can't be that hard, let's do it. And it has been rough, but because of her, it has been way easier. It has been way easier than it should have been. From being cut from teams to a short cup of coffee in the NFL to a long career in the AFL, playing on different teams. My wife has, I think we've moved 4 or 5 different houses 4 or 5 times, and very few times has she asked for help. She packs things up and let's roll. She is unbelievably strong. There's nothing that I could say as you know to her that says thank you enough. I just thank you for everything you've done. With having 3 boys, they are a mess, and they, you know, being with them in their career and the things they're trying to do right now in sports and not even as much sports, just being boys and learning to be little kids and trying not to go to jail at an early age. My wife has, you know, I try to be an influence on them, and I think being on the sports field and being their coach is the way I'm trying to be an influence and being a good dad. But my wife is absolutely the rock that keeps this family in line. And so for Tessa, thank you so much for what you've done for us. Little guys, my boys, Cade, I had Cade when I was here in college. I'll never forget the coaches telling me that, you know, your life's going to change and you're not going to be as good as football now because you have a kid. And they were so true. I took so much of my effort and put it into my family. Cade's 10 now, and he has been fun getting to try to give him and my 7-year-old Braven and now the new little guy Rook, trying to give them what my dad always gave me. And you know, for you 3, I only wish for you guys that, you know, you guys learn what my dad always taught me and just work your butt off and do the best you can. You guys have done that now, and you guys make me an unbelievable proud dad to get to have you guys. So keep working your butt off, and maybe one day you guys will be up here and be in that Pitt State. For that, guys, thank you for letting me come up. My wife told me when I see people's head nod, I'm going to stop. So, for that, thank you guys for letting me be a part of this group, and for, you know, the guys that are already in this group. I cannot tell you how proud I am to be able to say that I'm in such an awesome group with such an awesome group of people. And thank you.